Today we have Abe Degnan with us. He's going to tell us a little bit about his business, his journey, and the story of how he got to where he is today. Abe, what do you do?
I help people solve their problems and change their life by remodeling their home. That's the elevator speech.
There you go. I love that. That is a great answer because that's going to spark attention and another question like, what do you mean by that? And that is a great way to get that conversation going. And especially at a networking event, that's what we want. We want a conversation, not just I'm a builder.
It's a pattern interrupt. It give people then are curious because they think I'm going one way and it twists it in another direction. And but yet I do answer the question with remodeling at the end of it.
Right, right. No, I really like that. That's a great approach, especially like I said, when you're in those social settings. You're doing a networking event. You got to. We've all stood there and we stare at each other, and now what do we say? Well, you've just
Right.
prompted a conversation, which is what you want to do. So that is excellent. So, how long have you been an entrepreneur?
Well, my dad started the business in 1981 when I was 5 years old, and I've been doing stuff with him my whole life. I went to college for architecture, and so officially, you could say that I joined up in 1998, and then became a co-owner, and then he retired, and I have full ownership of the company, and one of my sons is involved as the third generation.
Oh, that's exciting. So, how has growth been going? I mean, your dad had the business. What type of business was that, and what type of business is it today?
My dad was a sole proprietor for 20 years. And then in 2001, after I had been working for him for about 3 years, 2.5 years, we decided to incorporate and become co owners. And then a while after that, we took on our first employee. And then eventually, there's a dozen of us at this point.
Oh, so you've had a lot of growth.
Yeah, we have. Yep, and our revenue growth also in the last 4 years has been significant beyond. The employee growth was one thing. The revenue growth was a step behind that.
Are you willing to share that information? What's been your best year in revenue?
We're hitting 5 million in revenue this year and doing it profitably.
Very good, very good. 5 million. That's a nice business.
Yeah. Yep.
So what are your next plans? What are your goals? 5 years out, 10 years out.
Well, I have had a goal for almost 10 years now, since we started putting some of this stuff in writing. That this business is bigger than me. I've made an okay amount of money for a long time, but part of growing a company and making more money is about giving your employees the opportunity to succeed, to thrive in their roles, and make money while doing it. So I have worked to the point now where I manage the business and coach the employees more than I am involved in the day-to-day business. And I want to see that continuing. And over the next 10 years, it will then have to be determined probably who are going to be the successors of the business, whether it will be my son who works for me, or whether it will be multiple people, being that this company is totally different than it was when I joined up, and became a co-owner when there were just two of us.
Yeah, no, that's a big change in management style. So you say that you're overseeing the business, you're running the business, coaching your people, which is fantastic. What would you say the number of hours a day are that you spend doing that, working on the business the way you do now? If you had to bundle it all up into a package, and I ask that because we all know when we start out, they're like 18 hours a day, and we're going nuts. And scale then eludes us going, I'm out of hours. So how has your life changed as a result of this?
Well, if this was the only business that I was operating, I would probably only work half days. I would probably only work around 4 hours a day. But I have a second business that I run, and that takes a lot of my time as well.
Well, that's I mean, 4 hours a day. I say four. I'll say a half day. I like the half day because we all know a day isn't necessarily 8 hours in this world, but
Right.
half day to run a $5 million company. That's got to be a nice feeling.
It is, but the thing is, it's a testament to my people, and to the work that they put in, and the authority that they have in their roles, their willingness to step up to the plate and to make things succeed. They're well compensated for what they do, and I want them to be also mentally challenged and emotionally rewarded for doing the work that they do, so that they feel like they are getting something out of this in every single way.
So you've done a lot of delegation. Was that comfortable for you?
Well, yeah, bit by bit. The last role that I hired was client relations specialist, which would be a salesperson in a shorter terminology. That was maybe one of the harder things, or the things that I was more worried about giving up. But I'll tell you what, as with every other role in the company, when I'm doing all the roles, the person that I hire who focuses on that particular role always ends up doing a better job than I did myself.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. And that is a hard role to let go of, especially that sales client facing role, because I know when I was in the game, I figured, okay, I've got to be there. I have to be on the job site. I have to be in front of the client at the sales point because they want to hire me. Um, it took me a long time to understand that they were willing to hire the business.
Yes.
What have you found as you've stepped back out of that client facing role 100% of the time, which I'm sure you have because I'm assuming we all do it since I did it.
Yeah. There's some challenges that you definitely need to focus on. Training your people about what is important. You need to focus on company culture and the way that we behave, the things that we believe, so that they are able to make decisions that I'm going to be okay with. So company culture, writing that stuff down, talking about it regularly, and having it public facing on our website, so that our clients can judge that we are living up to the things that we talk about, and that our staff know, that our clients know what is expected. It all matters.
Yeah, no, it does all matter. It's hard to have that trust. I know it was for me to have that trust that the employees would treat the customers the same way I would. Turns out they will, and it turns out the customers just want the product. They didn't necessarily want me. Which was a
Exactly.
little disheartening for me personally. I think my ego got in the way. They want to hire me. And I was like, apparently they don't. Apparently they just wanted a new kitchen. So
They want a new kitchen from a great company with people who are fun to work with and good to
right,
work with.
right.
And that's not just you or me. That's why we hire people that are good to work with and capable and skilled at what they do.
Yep, yep. No, absolutely. So, um, as you've been growing and you can look back from the two-man company that you started out with your dad, um, what would you have done differently? What if you had to do it all over again? What advice would you give to somebody coming up going, "Hey, I tried this didn't work," or "I tried this and it was absolutely the best decision I ever made"?
Well, I might have joined the Builders Association, or NARI, even sooner than I did. I might have also joined a mentoring group or a coaching group sooner than I did. I also might possibly have engaged in sales training earlier than I did.
Now, I know you
I'm
mentioned to me
happy that I
before.
did all of them.
I'm going to get you 2 points on that one. So, sales training. Now, you've mentioned to me before that you put that at the forefront of part of your personal self development, which I thought was quite interesting. I don't hear that from a lot of builders. What steps did you take in attempting to become a better salesman?
I worked with a Sandler sales trainer, and learned how to do things like pattern interrupts, for example. My elevator speech of "We help you solve your problems and change your life by remodeling your home." That's a pattern interrupt because it sounds different than what everybody else sounds like. If you sound like everybody else, then your customer is going to think you are like everybody else. And so we behave differently, we talk differently, we have our methods and processes put together. And sales training helped teach me that, because the fact is, if you don't have a sales process, then your customer is driving the boat, and you don't want your customer driving the boat. You want to be in control.
I've heard that from several successful builders that I've interviewed. They're like, you need to be in control of the process. You need to take the customer through your journey.
Yes.
Is that your approach in your business? Is that you've got a set journey for your customers to take them through from beginning to end?
It is. It is. We're going to provide the leadership, and we want people who are willing to follow our leadership, because we're the ones who are experienced doing this, and therefore, with a process in place, they know what we're going to do, and so if they're willing to follow, then that it's not a bully situation. It is them being willing followers of the things that we've developed in order to make the whole process work as effectively as possible and make their life easier.
I totally agree with that approach, because I have learned over the years, people don't know how to buy construction. They don't know the process. And yet many of us as builders look to them to take the next step. They don't know what to do, because
Exactly.
they've never bought construction before. It's like,
Yep.
they don't know next steps. We need to guide them and show them how this all works. And like you said, it's not a bullying thing. It's just that they don't know. Um, so I think that's a fantastic approach. Now I'm going to ask you a selfish question. You
Okay.
mentioned coaching,
Yep.
and you and I did not work together as coaches. I'll put that out there, which I'm fine with. But what
Yep.
did you gain from that coaching? Why did you think that was beneficial? Was that a mindset thing? Was that a business thing? What did that bring to the table for you?
Totally. So I worked first with a peer group, and so I had a very close knit group of a dozen or so companies that I worked with, and formed some of the closest relationships that I have. They're people that I still call. I had a question on Friday, and I called up one of my friends across the country, and we had a 15-minute conversation and caught up with each other. Um, that peer group is one form of coaching, and they provided blind benchmarking against everyone in this organization, which included at different points 5 of my friendly competitors here from the Madison area. But within our small group, we had open books with each other and were benchmarked and could see exactly how things compared. That was the first thing that I did. Later on, then I worked directly with a business coach, and there's a hair of a difference between being part of a peer group and working in particular with a business coach. And so I'm happy that I did both things. Both things worked on mindset, but the business coach in particular was at a point in my life where I needed ongoing mindset work, and where as things were going along, they were good enough, but still, it was me that was holding things back, and getting my mindset right then. Put me in a position where I could then lead the people in my company to move forward and take steps forward. And the ones who followed are on the bus, and the ones who didn't want to follow that are off the bus.
No, I really like that. That's another point I've heard from other successful builders, is the whole personal growth is directly tied to the business growth. If your personal development stalls, business growth seems to stall along with it.
Yes. Let alone if you're married, make sure that you keep a stable marriage, and you make sure that your personal life doesn't overflow into your business life, and don't let your business life overflow into your personal life in a way that your business takes down your marriage, and then your marriage takes down your business. So, I mean, being a business owner is no joke. There is a lot of work involved.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It's no joke. I went through all the gamuts, and I'm ashamed to say I went through the divorce thing myself. It can ruin a lot of marriages, and
Yeah,
it can drive a lot of alcoholism. Now,
yeah.
getting a little bit personal on that. Now, I know you're a man of faith. How much has your faith built into all of this regarding your personal relationship with your family and growing your business?
Well, everything ties together because so I have gone through a whole lot of things. We're biological and adoptive parents. We've done domestic adoption of a toddler, and then we did international adoption of a sibling group of three older children. And let me tell you what, the things that go into coaching, mentoring, and a good marriage, all this stuff does tie together. So having faith that things are going to continue forward. This isn't about like just manifesting to the universe or something like that. This is about what we do. In my case, because of Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit, allowing me to parent differently than I used to parent. And some of that parenting differently then leads me to coach my team differently. The way that I relate with my wife in marriage has improved, but all these things have to move forward. If I slack off on any one of them, including my physical health here as well, by the way, it is going to then drag one thing down at a time, and pretty soon you end up in the pit.
It's a lot to manage. And like you said, running a business and growing a business is no joke. And that kind of exemplifies why it's no joke, because it's not just going out and making another sale and signing up another customer. There's a lot to balance in all of this. A lot we don't think about when we get started out. Um, as we talked about before, you've scaled this business a lot. What, and we may have already touched on it, but is there any particular secret to scaling the business as a whole? What would you attribute to successful scaling, or what has slowed down your scaling as you have tried to move forward?
We've had a few different iterations of things where we've tried things and failed. We have over the course of time, we've been both a new home builder and a remodeler, and before I had a great sales process, and before I had the systems in place and knew how much to charge and had confidence in being able to charge what it takes in order to run a good remodeling business, we thought growth was going to achieved by just building more revenue. But if you build more revenue without having adequate margin, all you're doing is continuing to dig a hole, because you hire more people, but you still don't have enough margin to support what is going on in the organization. So by creating processes and then learning sales and having belief and confidence, I want this job, but I don't need this job, is one of the attitudes that you need to go in with all the time. Because if that customer, if you need that customer more than that customer needs you, then they control all the marbles. But I want that job. I want that next job. I want every single next job with the right customer. But if I have a customer walk away or behave in a way that is not going to allow us to be successful in our process or to be financially profitable in the end results, I don't need that customer. And that's a key thing to understand in the process of scaling. So we have, since 2016, focused exclusively on remodeling, and the last two houses that we built were in 2016, and that's no longer part of our growth model.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Um, you talk about running profitable jobs. You mentioned it earlier that the business is doing well from a sales standpoint, but you're also doing it profitably. Uh, what financial advice have you received, or what financial advice would you offer out to any builder who's either stuck in their scaling operations or just getting started? What do they need to think about in running this business financially?
Well, they need to know their numbers. They need to understand the difference between markup and margin, because those two things yield very different results. You can work with either one of them in doing your calculations, but you sure as heck better know the difference. You need to make sure that you are only taking your own money that you have earned out of the company. If customers are paying deposits, you want to essentially have that money, that money until you've performed the work does not yet belong to you. So you better have that money in a stash over there, so that you are working on your money, and drawing your money out of the company rather than ever, either purposely or inadvertently, committing theft by contract, or by taking out money that doesn't belong to you, and then not being able to perform the service, and pay the bill, for the client who has hired you. People get in trouble that way. Be careful that you don't go out and buy that fancy new truck when you don't have the money for that fancy new truck, and when a more basic truck would have been just fine for what your needs are. So live a modest life, and then be generous in the process, and find out how you're going to be blessed.
No, that's awesome. And I know a lot of guys struggle with that financial balance. There's a lot of new trucks out there. Um,
Yes.
and they look successful. So,
Yes.
and then other builders try to emulate that, going, "Oh, that guy's successful. Look at the big truck he's got." So it's
Yep.
some of it's an illusion. A
Yep.
lot of it's an
Exactly.
illusion.
A lot
So,
of it's an illusion. There's a lot of debt out there. There's a lot of debt out there.
yep, no, that's unfortunate. So, I want to wrap this up. I know you're busy. If you could just do a quick 60-second wrap up of what advice would you give to builders in general that you've learned that you think might benefit them in their growth and their business journey?
We talking builders or remodelers?
Either one, construction in general. Um,
Yep.
this is going to go out
Let's
to the industry, even subcontractors.
Sure.
Part of that whole business journey that we all experience in construction.
Yeah, yeah. So I think one of the important things for people to understand is that you have a multifaceted partnership going on that needs to work out for everybody. The subcontractors and vendors, they need to be happy working for you, and they need to be happy working for the type of customers that hire you. The customers, you need to have subcontractors that are in alignment with your values, and are going to keep the homeowners happy, and you need to pay them promptly. You need to make sure that the homeowners are paying you promptly, and it's great to take money from the homeowners in advance, so that as soon as the subcontractor is done with the work, you can pay them faster than anybody else pays them that they're working for, and they're going to want to show up on your job site, and that's going to make the customer happy. But just make sure that you're only spending money that actually belongs to you.
That's great advice. That's great advice. So yeah, it's an ecosystem. It's everything's got to work together. So, and I
Yes.
and I think in general, if I had to wrap it up, I'd say that's probably been the theme of what you've said today. All of this is an ecosystem, whether it's your business, your relationship, your employees, your customers, and how you treat your subcontractors, and your cash flow. It all works together as a single unit, which is really what a business is.
Yes, and it is fun doing it at that point. And even when there's moments that aren't fun, you know you're going to make it through them, and that's where mindset comes in.
There you go. There you go. So I really appreciate it, Abe. It's good to catch up with you, and I appreciate you taking the time out to help other builders and kind of explain your journey through business and through your growth. And I wish you all success going forward. Thanks again.
Thank you. And Dwayne, even though you were never my business coach, you and I have had enough conversations that for the people who are following you, I just want to say I would endorse them working with you because you're a trustworthy source out there in the industry. So I just didn't discover you at the time when I needed you.
Well, thank you very much, Abe. That was unsolicited, and I honestly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.